Good morning, everybody. Welcome to day one of the Braves Next Steps Challenge. I am so excited to have you join me. As we're waiting for folks to come on, I just want to kind of give you an overview of where we're headed. So today is all about outsmarting the fear. Tomorrow we're gonna, hello Mel, thanks for coming. Tomorrow we're gonna talk a lot about tapping into your brave energy to help give you kind of that fuel you need to move forward. Hello, good morning, Suzanne. Wednesday we're gonna talk about saying no and setting boundaries, my favorite, and probably the thing that I sucked at for the longest. Thursday we're gonna create an action plan. And then Friday, we are just going to practice asking, doing, and all of that fun stuff. So if you follow me on social media, you might know that this weekend, my husband and I got a little wild hair up our butt, and we decided to go to Colorado to do one of my favorite challenges. It's called the Manitou Springs Incline. I don't know, comment if you've ever done it. And speaking of comments, if you guys have questions, throw them in the comments and we'll get to them as we go through this broadcast today. Okay, so the Manitou Springs Incline. This is like the fourth time I've done it. It was the first time my husband has done it. And basically what it is good morning, Lynette, and it is a mile rise of stairs that goes up one of the mountain ranges, or one of the mountains that's sitting in front of Pikes Peak. So there is 2,768 steps up this thing. It is a mile of stairs. And as you're climbing the mile of stairs, you're actually gaining 2,000 feet in elevation. So for those of you who are flatlanders like me, I'm in Nebraska, that's also known as like majorly sucking wind. Okay, so you're driving up to the incline, and from far away, like it looks totally doable. Good morning, Katie. And you're like, oh, I can totally do that. You know, and when you're reading about it on the internet, you're like, oh, people get up this thing in like 30 minutes. I go to the gym. This is going to be fine. This is going to be awesome. Like in theory, like this big idea, this big challenge, like seems totally doable. Okay. So as we're driving up to it, like I can see the stairs in the mountain. It kind of looks like a scar, like, you know, up the side of it. And I start to get nervous. And I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, this is real. This is real. Even though I've done it like 4 times, I'm like, okay, this is real. And then that's like when the thoughts start to come in. Like, what if I get halfway up and I don't know, I get sick and I fail, and like mountain rescue has to come and they have to trudge up all of these stairs and they have to rescue me from like halfway up the incline, and then everybody's staring at me while they carry me back down on a gurney, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like what will people think? Or I'm thinking to myself, like, what if I trip and fall all the way down? You know, like, what if I get stuck? Like, what if a catastrophe happens? Like, I don't know about you guys, and this is exactly why we're here today, but when you think about doing something really big, it always seems like a good idea in theory, until you get at the base of it and you have to take that first step and you start thinking about all of the horrible things that could possibly happen. And, you know, it's interesting. This was actually my slowest time getting up the incline, but there's lots of good metaphors for this as we think about how do we outsmart the fears that hold us back? How do we get confidence to take on these big challenges? You know, what is a great approach to help us overcome just that mental chatter that keeps us stuck from showing up and being seen, asking for the raise, going for it, whatever that looks like. And, you know, really you have to have a strategy sometimes when it comes to these things. And I think lots of times we forget that sometimes strategies like aren't always that sexy. So the strategy that my husband and I employed as we walked up this thing is, you know, about 300 steps in at first, it starts off really slow, okay? And you're just like, oh, I can do this. This is awesome. Okay, no, I'm good. I'm good. Good morning, Leslie. And then you see the little numbered steps thing and it says 300 and you're like, what? You're like, I still have like 3/4, like 7/8 of the way to go. And that's like when you start sucking wind and you're like, oh my gosh, what did I sign up for? And then you realize that you're like, okay, I just have to find milestones and I have to be okay with taking breaks. So it's all about, okay, if I'm going to climb up this thing, then I need to make it until then, like step 400, then I can take a break. I need to make it to that shady area up there and I can take a break. I need to take breaks every like 400 steps so that like I can bring my heart rate from 200 down to, something that's like halfway normal. And when I take breaks, it's not about, the shame of taking a break. Because I think in our culture, especially in our hustler culture, there's just a lot of shame around taking breaks. It's more about recuperating, taking some big deep breaths, looking back and seeing how far you've come, and then making like a next goal. Okay, now that I'm done with this break, my next goal is to make it 200 more stairs, and then I'll take a break. So why do I start with this story for day one? Because I think that this challenge is the perfect metaphor. This hiking the Manitou Springs incline is the perfect metaphor for a lot of things that we do in our daily life, whether it's, preparing to ask for a raise, going back to school, raising our hand to volunteer, asking, going for the promotion, asking our boss for some sort of big request, increasing our prices. Maybe it's just even asking your spouse for a little bit more help around the house or a little bit more me time. All of these challenges, they seem okay when we're thinking about them, but it isn't until we actually like step right up to the actual challenge and we're about ready to take our first step that then our brain starts to kick in and it was like, oh, heck no, right? That's when all the limiting beliefs start to come. And nature has no agenda. It wasn't the challenge, it wasn't the stairs, it wasn't the Manitou incline that was causing me problems. Most of my stress driving up to it and my heart rate and everything was all about all the things that I was thinking about the challenge. So many people have climbed that. Yes, it's hard, but at the same time, the mental game that I had in the effort in and of itself, that's the thing that kept me going. It was making those small goals. It was recognizing, and that's maybe the inspiration for the name of my challenge. It was realizing that all I had to do was focus on the next step in front of me. Because if you look all the way up that thing and you look at your total goal, your total challenge, it will freak you out and you'll want to turn around and say no. And so it's all about taking that brave next step. It's all about looking at that challenge in front of me. And so, good morning, Jill. Good morning, Kath. And so here's where I want to bring this back to what you're thinking of today, okay? Because again, it's not necessarily the challenge that's going to hold you back. Yes, there are lots of challenging circumstances. Most of your stress is caused by what you're thinking about the challenge. It's your inner critic. And that's really where our ego comes in to kind of really hold us back. Now, there's a difference. I want to be very clear because there are two types of ego if we go back to like basic psychology 101. There is healthy self-confidence ego. That's the good ego. That's the healthy ego that like gives you the courage and the confidence and the skills and faith in your abilities to actually get to the base of the challenge in the first place. But then there's kind of that unhealthy ego, right? That inner critic. That's the one that jumps in and says, who are you to do this? Who do you think you are? If you ask for a raise, that's going to look greedy. Oh my gosh, if you raise your hand for this, what will people think? If you speak up, you might say the wrong thing. People will think you're stupid. You're going to fail at this. Do you guys ever have those thoughts? Because most of the time it's our inner critic that's causing that. So if you're not driving and you're sitting, and you're actually going to get a worksheet of this at the end, so don't feel like you have to write it down, but if you have it with you, I want you to take your pen and paper and write the letters T as in Tom, F as in fire, A as in apple, R, okay, as in results, TFAR. This is a well-known psychological framework for how our thoughts, that's the T, the thoughts like, oh my gosh, what will people think? If I speak up, people will think that this is crazy. If I ask for a raise, people will think I'm greedy. Okay, let's just take the raise example because I know lots of you who joined the challenge commented that one of the things you were going to ask for was you were going to negotiate your salary, ask for a raise, or increase your prices if you're an entrepreneur. So let's just take the thought, ask for a raise, to this example. So with a lot of the women that I coach, guys, and this is all levels, all experience levels, one of the main thoughts that holds women back from asking for a raise is the thought of, if I ask for more money, people will think I'm selfish. If I negotiate my salary, people will think I'm pushy. I shouldn't negotiate my salary because who do I think I am, to ask for this? Some of the money messages that we've heard growing up is something that is just as simple as, people shouldn't talk about money. People shouldn't ask for money. And that's what holds us back. So when I'm thinking about that, that's your T. Your thoughts lead to your feelings. And when I'm thinking those thoughts, my hunch is, at least I know from my own personal experience, when I'm thinking thoughts like that, I'm feeling really anxious. I'm feeling nervous. I'm feeling really apprehensive. I'm feeling really doubtful. I feel really insecure, fearful. I'm sure you guys can think of lots of emotions. So I'd like you to think about when you're thinking that thought, what is the feeling that you feel? Well, we act based on our feelings. And if I'm feeling insecure, nervous, weak, fearful, how do you think I'm going to ask or act? Probably pretty small, right? Like, I'm probably not going to do a whole lot, because if I'm not having those really powerful emotions, if I'm having really kind of weak and hesitant emotions, I'm probably going to play small. I'm probably not going to raise my hand. I'm probably not going to ask. So that's T, thoughts, F, feelings, A, those are my actions, and my actions lead to my results. So if I'm playing small and I'm not showing up and being seen, and I'm not asking and I'm not taking the action, the results that I'm getting are probably not what I want. There's probably a huge gap in between my aspirations and my actions. And that's what really kind of kills our confidence. And guys, it's this whole big loop. And so then, because I'm not getting amazing results, that's impacting my thoughts, and it's this whole crazy confidence spiral. So here's my challenge to you guys today. Here's a framework, because a lot of people, I think I learned early on, some people are like, well, just think positive thoughts. Well, guys, positive thoughts are helpful. Don't get me wrong. I love positive thinking. However, there were some thought tracks that were just ingrained in my mind that without some digging, I wasn't going to get released from them. So there's a framework that is from Byron Katie. She is an amazing author, spiritual leader. Her book, Loving What Is awesome. I highly recommend it. She has a series of 4 questions that can help us really kind of zone in on that thinking, that stressful thought, to help us kind of find a little more freedom in that. So I want to walk you through it. So let's just take an example. Let's just take the example of, if I ask for a raise, people will think I'm selfish. Her first question would be, is that thought true? And sometimes people are like, I know I'm like really ingrained. I'm like, yes, that's true. So the second question is, can I absolutely know? Can I prove? Can I know in all circumstances that this thought is true? That if I ask for a raise, people will think I'm selfish? No, that's probably not true. I can't prove that. Okay. So the third question is, and this kind of taps into how our thoughts and feelings and actions all interrelate, is when I'm believing the thought, if I ask for a raise, people will think I'm selfish. When I'm believing that thought, how do I act? Well, I already kind of walked you through it. I play small. I don't ask. I sit and I'm frustrated and I stew and I get tight and I get tense and I look at everybody else who, has the courage to ask those sort of things. And it's just, I get envious and just all this sort of junk, right? So then the fourth question, this is the one that's going to kind of open up and give us a little bit more freedom. And that is, if I couldn't believe the thought that if I ask for a raise, people will think I'm selfish, if I could not believe that, what would I do? How would I move through the world differently? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I would do some research. I would feel free to kind of start writing out the script of the conversation I'm going to have with my boss. I would maybe make a list of the qualifications and all the reasons why I deserve the raise. I would put a meeting on my boss's calendar. For the first time, sometimes we find ourselves free because we haven't imagined our life without that thought. And then all of a sudden, the whole world opens up. So that's my challenge for you guys today. That's your day one challenge. I want you to ask yourself, what is it that you're dreaming of? Okay, you've all kind of signed up for this challenge because you're going to do something, whether it's applying for school, asking for a raise, applying for the promotion, asking for help, whatever it is. What is it that you're dreaming of? That's question one. Question two will help you expose the thought. And why can't you have that? I'm sure your inner critic will jump in with all the reasons why you can't have that. And then I want you to ask those 4 questions. Okay, is it true, the reason why you can't have it? How do you act when you believe it's true? What would you do if you couldn't believe the reason why you can't have it? And that's what I want you to work on for this challenge. What's one micro step? What's one thing that you would feel free to try today if you didn't believe the thought of why you can't have that big thing that you want? And if that step feels too big, I want you to cut it in half. And if that feels too big, I want you to cut it in half again, okay? And in fact, today, all I want you to do is write the script, okay? You're not even gonna take action on this thing that you're like, oh my gosh, okay, if I would be free of this thought, here's a million things I could try. I'm not even asking you to try it today. I'm just asking you to write the script. Write out how you're going to ask your boss for a raise. Write out how you're going to schedule that meeting to talk about a promotion. Write out your script that you're going to talk to your spouse about asking for a little bit more help. Write out the 5 steps for how you're going to pull together everything to apply for, you know, your next level of schooling or whatever that is. So today, guys, it's all about outsmarting our fear by taking a super small step in the direction of where we want to go. And I'm just asking you to write the script. In fact, what I'll do is I'm going to send you guys an email that has everything we went through today. It's going to actually even have, for those of you, because I know a lot of you said you were going to ask for a raise, I'm going to put in my how to ask for a raise spreadsheet in there, not spreadsheet, excuse me, step-by-step guide for how to do that. And if you're an entrepreneur looking to raise your prices, you can just swap out a couple of words and I think it'll make sense for you too. So if you guys have any questions, throw them in the comments, but that's your big challenge for today, is to really think about what is it that you want? Why can't you have it? And then I want to have you answer those questions. What's one thing that you think you could try today if you didn't believe the thought of why you can't have it? And you're just going to write it out. You're going to write the script. That's all I have for you guys today. I'm going to send you a video recap email. If you weren't with me in the beginning, tomorrow we're going to talk about day 2, which we're going to take your little challenge and inch it up a notch. And we're going to talk about how to move forward and find that brave energy. And then we're going to start practicing our asks. So I'll hang on. If you guys have any questions for a second, you can pop them in the chat. I would love to know what you guys are thinking about, or tell me what you guys are asking for. Who's asking for a raise? Who's going to ask for a project at work? I would love to hear what you guys are asking for. And if you're watching it on replay, pop it in. Ooh, and I almost forgot about the most important part. I have added a prize to this. So what I'm going to do is I really want to encourage you guys to participate, amp up the energy, because I think when we're seeing others taking brave steps, it provides inspiration for all of us. So for participation, you are going to be entered into a drawing to win a gift card, a $50 gift card. And it will be to a place of your choice. And this will make a lot more sense tomorrow when I talk about your brave energy. But just know that if you're registered for the challenge, so if you've actually gone onto my website and you've registered for the challenge, I'll leave it up one more day. So if you're in my Facebook group, but you haven't registered and you're like, what is all this awesome stuff? Go to my website, kellyraythompson.com. It's the Coaching Brave Next Steps Challenge. Sign up. And then for every time you post in the group, one of the challenges, you're going to be entered to win the gift card. So your challenge today, the thing I want you to post, is just to tell me what your big goal is. And then let me know if you've written your script. So if you're watching this on replay and you don't get till tomorrow, that's totally fine. This isn't school. This isn't time bound. You just have to get it in this week. So what are you going for? And then tell me that you've written your script, or you can tell us what your mini ask was. I think it's awesome if you want to be brave and inspire the rest of us with what you've done. So post so you guys can get entered into the drawing for the gift card. Go out, go forth, conquer, write your script, make little asks, and we'll start putting that energy out into the world that will help you keep things going. So thanks for joining, guys. Loved having you on. Remember the law of kinetic energy, an object in motion tends to stay in motion. So I'll hang on if you guys have any questions. Otherwise, thank you for joining, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.